Hello and welcome to my camera comparison between Samsung's and Apple's best, the Galaxy S23 Ultra and the Apple iPhone 15 Pro Max. It's my very first iPhone, so I'm really excited to dive into it and see what it offers. I planned on uploading it way earlier, but one day after the iPhone's release, I launched something on my own. So excuse the delay. So now there's a little bit recording in 4K and 30 frames per second, iPhone 15 Pro Max on the side, Galaxy S23 Ultra here. Using the front-facing cameras, judging by what I can see on the screen, I think the iPhone has a little bit wider field of view, so you can't zoom out anyway on both phones, so that's the best you can get on both phones. Which one looks better to you? The colors look warmer here on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, which was consistent throughout my testing also. And so what do you... And now does the same test, both phones recording again in 4K and 30 frames per second, this time enabling the portrait video mode and the cinematic video on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. The mode where you get the beautiful blur. Judging by what I can see on the screen right now, the S23 Ultra is blurring out everything what is behind me, even a bit on my chair. The microphone next to me, as soon as I touch it, it's getting in focus. My hand is getting out of focus. The iPhone 15 Pro Max is not blurring out the microphone, or at least not as much. Portrait video, cinematic video on the iPhone. So how it is looking now, it should be much better than the one which we did just before with the front-facing cameras. This mode could be very useful if you are planning to make your own YouTube videos, for example with the iPhone or the Galaxy S23 Ultra. I check out the autofocus in this mode if I put something in front of it. Which one does it better? Does it faster? Are they doing it at all? I have no idea. I can't see anything. This shot shows very well how both phones handle this kind of scenes. The iPhone has a softer and more natural look, while the S23 Ultra has a tendency to oversaturate the color. The sidewalk looks also completely different. The S23 Ultra is also over-sharpening way too much. This piano man made of plants is telling the same story as before. Over-sharpening on the S23 Ultra, a softer image on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. The iPhone 15 Pro Max offers some fancy coating for the lenses, which should, in theory, reduce the lens flare, glare problem which you can get when you aim the camera into direct sunlight, into lamps or whatever. But in my test, I still feel it is a big issue on this phone. And now let's look at some videos recorded in 4K with 30 frames per second using the front-facing cameras. Both phones will not give you the ability to zoom in or zoom out with the front-facing cameras as soon as you record. I know you can do this on some other brands. I think Huawei, Xiaomi, they offer this, that you can zoom in on the selfie video to give you a wider view. So, but it is all you can get on the iPhone 15 Pro Max and Galaxy S23 Ultra. Which of these two phones has a better microphone? It's also always interesting to know. And now I'm using the front-facing cameras, recording in 4K with 60 frames per second. Today it is not so nice. Last time we had a late summer day. Now it is getting already a little bit colder here, as it should be in fall. Using the front-facing cameras, Both phones are really close when it comes to pure picture quality. But once again, the pictures on the S23 Ultra are a bit too oversaturated. The iPhone is adding a little bit too much warmth for my taste, but it is still truer to life. And now I enabled ProRes on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. ProRes lock. Keep in mind you have to color grade it afterwards. I'm not an expert when it comes to color grading. It is definitely possible to get much better results, I'm sure of it. Here you can see your zooming options when you start the recording in 4K and 60 frames per second. No matter which lens you pick on the iPhone, you can switch through all of them, going to the ultra wide, the 1x, go to the 5x optical, and all the digital options between. If you start a recording with, let's say, the 1x on the S23 Ultra, you're stuck on this lens. You can't go down to the ultra wide, you can't change it to the 3x or 10x optical lens. You're stuck on the lens you start the recording with. Zoom on the S23 Ultra to up to 10x. And the iPhone is going to 15x maximum zoom. Recording with ultra wide lens, there you have the same issue. You're stuck on the ultra wide lenses. You can zoom, but all the zoom will be done digitally. You can't go to the other optical lenses, so you're stuck on it. But keep in mind, it is just an issue if you record on 4K with 60 frames per second on the S23 Ultra. The iPhone doesn't have this issue. If you shoot in 4K with 30 frames per second, this is also not an issue anymore on the Galaxy S23 Ultra. So let's just check out how smooth both phones are when you switch the lenses. Now let's test out how smooth the lens switching is on both phones. Starting from the ultra wide, going to 1x, 2x, 5x, all the way back to ultra wide, going back to the 5x, 1x, 2x, ultra wide, 5x. And now let's do the same on the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Ultra wide, 1x, 2x, 3x optical, and then the 10x optical, going all the way back to ultra wide, jump to 3x, ultra wide, 10x to 1x. The iPhone is doing a great job with very smooth transition between all the lenses. Can't say the same about the S23 Ultra. It is always quite obvious whenever you switch a lens. Now let's take a look at how good both phones are while zooming. The S23 Ultra is one of the best phones when it comes to zooming on the market, with a dedicated 3x and 10x optical lens. The iPhone 15 Pro Max has a new 5x teleoptical zoom, up from the 3x of last year's model, going from ultra wide all the way up to 100x on the S23 Ultra. It's quite apparent which phone is using the optical lenses at which time. I'm actually quite impressed at how well the iPhone's 10x digital zoom measures up against the Galaxy S23 Ultra's 10x optical zoom. We're going to the highest possible zoom on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, which is 25x. The S23 Ultra is a clear winner in the same length. And just for fun, a 100x shot with a crop of iPhone's 25x shot. Both shots are equally useless, but here you have it. Let's start another round here. On the Samsung side, the over-sharpening is a big issue at times, as you can see here. Until 10x zoom, both phones are performing really well. Above that, Samsung has clearly the edge every time. This 10x shot here is way clearer on the S23 Ultra, which comes to no surprise since it has an optical lens. Here I took a 25x zoom shot with both phones of this piece of wood here. Both struggled to take a good picture, with the S23 Ultra trying to sharpen it too much and the iPhone battling a lot of noise. This poor horsey has to struggle under the same problems. Now once again we will start to zoom in, starting from ultra wide, going all the way to 25x, and a bonus shot of 100x, and again a crop of the iPhone's max zoom. Generally speaking, I like the ultra wide and the 1x shots on the iPhone a little bit more because the S23 Ultra tends to over sharpen them a lot. Zooming in further, and the S23 Ultra is mostly taking the better picture. Here are two pictures of the horses from before, once taken with the ultra wide with a light beam trying to attack me on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, but still I prefer this picture a bit more because the S23 Ultra is just having too much contrast, it's a bit too dark for me. Now we use the optical lenses of both phones, the 3x on the S23 Ultra, the 5x on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Side by side, the iPhone 15 Pro Max is taking the way better picture in my eyes. It is more detailed and just overall better looking. Now let's compare the 3x optical of the S23 Ultra with the 3x digital of the iPhone 15 Pro Max. You can see there's a quite obvious difference, as it should be. Looking at 5x on both sides, Samsung digitally, iPhone optically, the difference are much smaller than compared with 3x zoom before. Samsung's digital zoom is just way stronger than iPhone's in those ranges. And these pictures I took on the day when my kid was born. This is a hospital, so let's again zoom in from ultra wide going all the way up to 100x. Let's take a look at some pictures taken with the front-facing cameras of both phones. Colors on the iPhone are just a bit too warm for my taste. The S23 Ultra again is oversaturating the colors. And now we will look at some selfie portraits. Both phones are doing a good job at separating myself from the background. Somehow the iPhone mistook a tree branch behind me as a strand of my hair and kept it in focus. Using the portrait mode here on animate objects with both the optical 3x on the S23 Ultra and the optical 5x on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Both are doing a good job, also seen here on the wooden musician and the sign of the Adolf Hofweg. Some unlucky fellow lost his cap here, and if I didn't know it better, I would say that the pictures are both on the wrong side, because now the S23 Ultra seems to create a warmer picture. So this is the cinematic mode on the iPhone 15 Pro Max and the portrait video mode on the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. It is the one where you will get a beautiful blur on the background, the cinematic feel to make you stand out a bit. So I'm stretching my arm now. Get you a better view. Let's take you around here. So now I'm using the cinematic mode with the main lenses. Let's turn around and see how it looks here. It's looking already quite good with the front-facing cameras. So now you get an idea how it will look with the main lenses at the back. portrait video on the S23 Ultra and the cinematic video on the iPhone 15 Pro Max are modes which I generally really like to use. But those are also modes which need a lot of light. Using the front-facing cameras, both are struggling a lot with noise. Switching over to the back of the phone using the main lenses in the same modes, the experience is much better. The blur on the iPhone is just a little bit more dominant. And here some pictures just before sunrise in the morning. I think the S23 Ultra is taking the better pictures here. Just the 5x goes to the iPhone 15 Pro Max in my eyes, but everything about this is clearly better on the S23 Ultra. And that's it for the daytime comparison. Let's jump over to the night. And now some material in ProRes log on the iPhone 15 Pro Max and 4K 30 frames per second on the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Time for some selfies. In this picture, I used the screen as a flash. If you use the automatic photo mode on the S23 Ultra, it can activate night shot automatically. The iPhone does the same, but the S23 Ultra does have a dedicated night mode. The iPhone seems to have a lot of more noise on the selfies taken at night, but the colors are more accurate. You can see down here which mode is used while taking the pictures. From my experience, there's not a huge difference between the automatic night shot and the night mode of the S23 Ultra. Switching to the back of the phones, the S23 Ultra captures more light and thus more details. Both are pretty toe-to-toe here, and at 5x we got this. No idea what happened on the S23 Ultra, but it does have a tiny bit of noise here. Now one of my biggest issues with the iPhone's camera will come clear here. At night the lens flare problem is really crazy when there are lights around. It's a real pity because I really like the overall look. Let's zoom in here, and the S23 Ultra's ultra-wide captures more details. At 1x, both are rather close, but the iPhone fails to capture the light sign of the cinema in the back properly. Using the 3x zoom here, the S23 Ultra should be the clear winner, but it surely isn't. The edge of the building looks really weird, for example. Using the 5x optical on the iPhone makes it the clear winner on this length. Now at 10x, we have a problem. The S23 Ultra decided automatically by default which lens it wants to use while zooming. So even if you click on the 3x or 10x, the phone can decide that it will just use the lower optical lens and then zoom in digitally. And this happened here. I clicked on 10x, but it used the 3x optical lens and zoomed in digitally to 10x. There is an app made by Samsung themselves called Camera Assistant, which can get rid of this problem, where you can deactivate automatic lens switching. But for the sake of this test, I did not use this app, because I'm pretty sure that most users don't use or even know that this app exists. For this picture, I did deactivate the lens switching just to show you how it would look if the shot was really taken with a 10x optical lens compared to what we had with the 3x zoomed in on 10x. And to round it up, 2 useless 25x shots. The iPhone is struggling with light sources, especially at night. This picture demonstrates it really well. The 5x optical lens on the iPhone 15 Pro Max is really capable at night. If I didn't know it better, I would say there's a drone show going on in the sky on the iPhone. Here the 2x digital zoom looks overall a little bit better on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, but again it is overblowing the lights. At 3x and 5x you get what you expect. Both phones win with the dedicated optical lenses. this video just to demonstrate you how bad the lens flare problem really is on the iPhone. I shot the video with HDR activated, so I would have to color grade it afterwards to make it look as close as possible as how it was captured. But like this you wouldn't get the real picture, so I just left this video in for the sake of showing you how big of an issue I had with lights filming at night on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And yes, the S23 Ultra does have the same issue as well at times, but it is way worse on the iPhone 15 Pro Max.
I know for sure. It's that I know nothing.
This shot again is overall better on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, especially the lower third of the picture, but it once again blows out the light sign. At 3x it is the same problem, and at 5x it finally does a better job. On this ultra wide shot, the iPhone seriously outclasses the S23 Ultra. At 1x it is close, and I slightly prefer the Samsung even here. At 3x and 5x we have the obvious winners, and at 10x the iPhone wins because the Samsung again decided to use the 3x zoom and go up to 10x digitally. This mode is way more detailed on the iPhone. You can see it in the texture of the body of the ship. Now let's take a portrait at night with both optical lenses, 3x and 5x. We can see that by default the iPhone's bokeh is more dominant, but you can edit this later on. You can change the aperture to make the bokeh more dominant on both phones. This shot I unfortunately forgot to take a picture of the 3x on both phones, but the 5x is obviously clearly better on the iPhone. In this ultra wide shot both phones are actually quite close. At 1x the iPhone cranks up the contrast a bit too much. At 3x digital the iPhone is holding up really well against the Samsung's 3x optical, and at 5x the iPhone is clearly better. Using the selfie camera with the night mode activated, and we get these two horrible photos. The Samsung is overexposing the background, while I have no idea what's going on the iPhone. The shot is so noisy that it almost looks like it is censoring my shirt. Using the portrait mode clearly isn't helping either phone take a better picture here, even less so on the iPhone. Activating the flash produces a quite usable picture on the S23 Ultra. Here I used the dedicated night mode on the Galaxy S23 Ultra. The 3x shot was taken with a 1x lens unfortunately, but it is the same way the iPhone is doing it, taking the main lens, going up digitally by 3x, and the same is the case for this shot of those two gentlemen. At 1x here the clouds on the iPhone apparently are hiding an alien invasion or something like that. At 3x and 5x, the Samsung somehow decided to stick with a 1x main lens and just zoom in digitally. I deactivated lens switching here once again for the sake of demonstration to show to you how it would look like if we used the 3x optical lens for the 5x picture. Either way, the iPhone is taking better shot at 5x with its dedicated 5x optical lens. Now I start to record in the cinematic mode on the iPhone 15 Pro Max and the portrait video mode on the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Both phones are complaining that it is too dark here, so more light required, but let's see. Still too dark for both phones. They're still not happy about this. Here the picture is brighter on the iPhone. This was also already obvious while filming this, I could see it on the screen. But the S23 Ultra seems to be steadier. This selfie under light pole is clearer on the S23 Ultra, though the colors are a bit off for my taste. On this ultra wide shot, the iPhone blowing out the lights way too much. It gets better at 1x, but the lamp down here is still overblown. The same holds true for 3x, and at 5x it finally gets better. But still, it is not a great picture, but we have to keep in mind it is a 5 times zoomed picture at night, which is a difficult situation. And here the ultra wide shot looks more true to life on the iPhone. And this concludes the camera comparison between the S23 Ultra and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Which of those two phones do you think came out on top of this comparison? I have to say both phones really offer a great system. I overall think that the videos are a bit better on the iPhone. Or the camera transition while zooming, it is really awesome. The pictures are great too, but the iPhone has a really big issue with lens flare. I heard it is better now compared to the last models, but it is really bad compared to the S23 Ultra, which is doing a great job. So let me know in the comments which of those two phones you prefer, which did the better job. Do you own one of those already yourself, or are you planning to buy one? Please subscribe for more camera comparisons in the future. I have one lined up for the Pixel 8 Pro, hopefully very soon. I hope we will see us soon again. Have a great time, and may there be peace in this world one day.